It's so much money. It breaks down every system. Cocaine, you know, those things are so out of realm in terms of price points that they ruin it. And it's a sad thing for Madagascar that all this incredible investment.
But for cocaine, they need forest, yeah, to hide the plantation.
To hide it, yeah.
Yeah, so cocaine is not a big problem.
I have a question. You told quite a lot about your biodiversity center in Madagascar, but it seems so that you are the first director of this center, and there are not so many people from America who are coming to Madagascar to make research in zoology and biology and botany. And who are other people from other countries who are working in Madagascar now? From France, Italy, I don't know. Can you say other researchers who are working over there?
Yeah, so in Madagascar there's kind of a large botany programs. There's one very large one, or maybe two, the Kyiv Botanical Garden. That's a program there, and the Missouri Botanical Garden. And there's local botany institutions that are doing work. They have a long history because of the French who started a large, really detailed program in botany. Big teams on the floor of Madagascar is very well done. And then the zoologist, the Field Museum has a program there. They have an NGO too called Latra. And everybody's has fought over what lemurs to study. You know, they're like the war. They fight amongst each other. And then there's the herpetologists who fight over what patch of forest. Every patch of forest has a new frog species in it, so they're always fighting each other over there. But entomologists doesn't really have anybody but us. And we facilitate others who want to come and do research there. We took the approach that any research on entomology is good for Madagascar, so we facilitate logistics, permits, housing, and we have a lot of Europeans who are working there. We have a summer intern program. We have 5 people from the museum in Rome who are actually spending 4 weeks at our program, so it's a great, we offer it as a training program in entomology, so they learn how to actually work in a museum. It's actually a great experience for them, and we get free work from them when they come, and they have to actually pay to do this, so it's good for the center. The center, as you know, entomology does not pay. We had this dream that we could make a living off doing consulting, and then the mining industry tanked 2 years ago, and all those contracts dried up. So we tried various things. We survived off getting grants, and we have the grant from the EU for managing this Atlas project where we're managing the museum digitization. We have the grant to be insect farming. If we get our next grant, even better. We survive off this intern program for people who come and pay very little, but it helps us keep the building going. And then I spend a lot of my time traveling, giving talks in the United States, looking for money to fund the center. So if you're anybody interested, we can talk about how ways to get your research involved in Madagascar.
One more question. Brian, tell me please, Madagascar is a very famous place. Is there any, are there any initiatives to find places where we can renovate the natural habitats? You told that only 10% of natural habitats are left. Maybe, did you do some maybe GIS modeling? You have such huge database now, put your data in a model and to find places where you can renovate forests, so maybe you can propose some conservation initiatives in some places.
Yeah, and interesting question. So there's a lot of interesting science that you can do in these very applied aspects. And that's what I think is a surprise to me. I never wanted to do the applied because I thought it was not as good science as the other stuff. So reforestation, incredible topic for Madagascar because nobody's figured it out. Botanists have been working for years to figure out how to reforest forests. They can do it in Peru, they can do it in the Congo, they can't do it in Madagascar and they don't know why. So mining companies have mandated that they will reforest their land. They have lots of money. They have spent more money on reforestation projects than any other public reforestation research program in the world, but it still hasn't worked yet. combination.
Have you seen any reforestation areas?
I've seen failed. They don't. They haven't. Most of the time, most areas have like pioneer plants, we call them, that they can grow, start off. Madagascar doesn't have that. And after you destroy the land, it's like the mycorrhiza can't be regenerated. And I'm convinced it's the underground mycorrhiza that's the problem. But, 10 years go by and the plants are still this tall and nothing's growing.
But in every type of soil, or just in areas that lost the topsoil because of mining? Because if it's dead, it's a different story, right?
Well, in mining they save the topsoil in different conditions, different depths, add nutrients to it, and they can't seem to put it back to life. It's amazing. The same companies that have great projects in Australia, Brazil, Gabon, and then they go to Madagascar and they hire all the same consultants, and for 10 years they can't do anything. It's a failure. Reforestation doesn't happen. You can plant pine trees in Madagascar for some reason, but you can't plant anything. But for reforestation of insects, nobody's really looked at that at all. But I actually wanted to mention that we're inventorying the edible insects of Madagascar. There's about 50 species so far that we've looked at. That half of them are named. The silkworm is 25 species, probably all undescribed. It's just amazingly unknown. Like, it should have been the first group we looked at, right? It should have been, it's in the markets, but, so that's what we're doing now. Like, the most obvious question we should have done in the beginning, gone to the markets, what are you guys eating? What's the host plant? Let's collect the host plant, let's collect the insect. We're barcoding them all now, and we're creating a database of, we call it an edible insect knowledge base, and we want to expand it to the world eventually, but we're doing it first in Madagascar. Like, all the crickets we're growing, we have no idea what genus they are yet.
I can add a little bit because I know mine rehabilitation situation in South Africa, and I was working actually in that program. And rehabilitation, which precedes reforestation, it's like quite complicated approach. And it's not just on the empty land. You can put the plant and it will grow same as in nature. For sure, it will for many years it will be short and it will eventually dry because it's necessary to make sort of crop rotation, to put like legumes to provide nutrition and then mycorrhiza and so on and so on. And the main problem that rehabilitation and reforestation has these two issues. They have two main social enemies. They are green companies and NGOs. Yes, environmental NGOs. Both, first are corrupt, second are stupid. And they do the same. First, the commercial rehabilitation programs, what they do, they generally collaborate with mining companies, and what they do, they grow something what is not suitable for these areas. For example, for big mining areas, they start growing grass. Grass dries, then rain moves it off, and then new job for company for each year. Instead of growing native plants, which will be grown once, and then, but they try to, people from university who spend years and years in this business, they know that it's necessary to maintain technology to keep territory rehabilitated to a certain extent. But commercial producers, they are not interested in long-term results. They are interested in every year work. So they provide superficial green grass coverage, which will be gone next time. So next time they have a new order, and for sure they pay something for the company. So end company and these service providers, they don't need experts. So as an expert, you can see these areas which are absolutely wrongly managed. You can come to the managers, you can make public awareness, and they will try to avoid you because this is their own business. And then NGOs. NGOs, I don't know why, but many European NGOs working in Africa, they think that reforestation is growing pine trees and eucalypts. So instead of indigenous plants, they see empty areas, they get financial support from some kind of Peace Corps, whatever, human rights organizations which are far away from environmental activity, but unfortunately in Europe and also in States there is tradition to link like human rights protection and environmental protection, and even high managers who are dealing with environmental programs, they on the ground could be political journalists or human rights activists, and they also think that the best way to reforestate area just to grow alien plants like pine trees or eucalypt trees. They grow quickly, but it's just desert under them. And it also takes time and effort to explain them that it's necessary to grow local indigenous plants, but it's necessary to provide nursery, to invest costs to growing these indigenous plants which are growing not that easy as pines. So they prefer short project, and to show that this year it was empty, next year there are pines. We have done job. Despite it's much worse than it would be empty.
Это уже новый доклад.
That's discussion.
How open are the locals to the conservation and reforestation ideas?
I think they're interested in trees. They all love trees, but whether or not that village will let the trees grow all the way up before they're cut for firewood or whatever is a challenge. So there are some trees they'll appreciate if, for example, it's a host plant for something they want, but still it's been a challenge for even pine plantations, letting even the pine plantation grow high enough before it's cut down. So it has to be guarded, basically. So if you're going to grow a forest, it has to be guarded. In fact, in Madagascar, you could probably put a probability of or price tag on any tree you see. The only trees that will not be cut down are the ones that you have to climb a mountain and it's stuck off a rock. You know that one will be there next year, but if it's not, with time, the people move up the hill, they keep cutting, they keep cutting.
What about landmines?
There's no landmines, yeah. Landmines.
Oh gosh. Poor people.
But trees will grow forever.
That's true.
How easy is it to establish a new natural reserve or protection area?
So we've been able to work with groups, and it's going to get harder, but right now the government wanted to triple the number of protected areas. But they've been really open to that, looking at biodiversity data, looking at proposals based on inventories of why this area should be preserved. It's done on paper, and then they ask NGOs to take over those paper reserves and manage them. And we've thought about managing a few reserves, but have been hesitant because don't really have that skill set, or we're based in the capital and don't want to actually manage a reserve 1,000 kilometers away. But we sometimes think maybe we should have done that, but we haven't yet. But insect farming, I think, is how we can make a contribution. So we're working with NGOs now that are based on these local reserves. And those pictures of barbecuing is actually one of those NGOs who are based in a reserve. And we're working with them. So
Is it local NGOs or international NGOs?
local NGOs.